Well, what did you think of the idea of adding the performing arts to the repertoire of your skills? And perhaps when you're talking to people about what you do, you might even mention that. Some people might find that fascinating. Oh, do you want to be an actor, a singer? No. Do you want to be a broadcaster? No, but I want to be really good at the business I'm in. And perhaps you would then show that, in effect, you are a very creative thinker about how you will perform out in the world of business and commerce. Now, as I've said before, I'm going to promise to hopefully give you some freebies besides the 7. And this is kind of a freebie. You may not like it. Well, the people who heard me say it first didn't like it at all. I did a lot of speaking and teaching and coaching in the financial services industry, and one time I was giving a presentation, and it was going okay because I'm pretty good at what I do and I work hard at it. But finally, when it came down to talking about what they had asked me to help them with, which was how to market and sell themselves, not just the insurance product. Most of them knew a good deal about the insurance and the annuities and the investments that they could present to people. I was trying to help them actually get people to buy them first because, as I've said, people buy you before they buy anything about you. And I simply said, I'm sorry, but all of you are going to have a problem, at least most of you here. And here's what it is. A lot of you are just plain boring. Well, they woke up from that. And I said, hey, I want to buy whatever from people who are interested in me, and they are interesting people. So there's 2 things about it. Be interesting. First of all, be interested in other people. Ask questions. Hey, ask the person who is interviewing you or you're talking to, ask them about their own work, their own experience, how they like working for the company. Let me tell you, I've worked with enough business owners around the world, and they love to talk about their business. Years ago, a woman named Barbara Walters, who was one of the first women to break into TV and radio in what was then a very much man's world, a number of years ago wrote a book, simply said how to talk to anybody about almost anything. It's still around, and it's still one of the best. Learn to talk to people. Learn to be interesting. Learn how to be interesting not only in your own stories and your own life, but then be interested in others. I still remember the time when I took time to listen to a man who had owned 7 businesses. He was now in his late 80s and obviously out of business and retired, and was still dealing with some health issues. And as he said, a lot of his friends and colleagues were no longer around. I remember that I just simply went up and asked if I could have a cup of coffee with him. And I started asking him about his career. And we went on for, I think it must have been an hour and a half, 2 hours. And toward the end of his presentation, a little tear began to come down. And he said, Stan, I'm sorry, but you know what? Hardly anybody ever listens to me or asks me about my story anymore. Thank you. Now, do you think I could have sold him something? Do you think he might have hired me if he still could? Well, he was simply reflecting a deep human emotion that people want to feel important. And when you're interested in them, they feel important. When you're interesting to them, they enjoy that experience. I like to be with interesting people. Now, one of the snarkiest comments, but I got the point. One time I was applying for a work as a consultant in a company, and the guy looked at me and simply said, hey, tell me something I don't know. Tell me something I don't know. I thought about it, and you know what? I said, well, have you ever heard about this? Or I think he said, here's a story about. And I guess it was okay, because he smiled and said, good. I'll have to look into that. So I'm going to encourage you to be interesting and be interested in others. Now, we're going to number 6, and this is a different mindset that might be helpful to you. Now, you will find a great deal of information about how to prepare for the job interview. And I'm not going to go into all of that information. Just Google job interviewing or Bing job interviewing or Yahoo, whatever search engine you want to use. And there will come up, I guarantee you, thousands and perhaps millions of things about being ready for the job interview. And some of that might be helpful. But let me tell you, this will be more than helpful. I want you to think differently. I don't want to interview, I want to audition. Now, do you know what that term, that comes from show business. How do you get the part? How do you get the gig? You audition. As someone pointed out who actually helped us figure this out, they said, when a unfortunately rather plain girl from Brooklyn by the name of Barbara Streisand wanted to get a job as a singer, they didn't interview her. They just simply said, lady, sit down, stand up, and sing. Now, I don't know how well she would have interviewed because she was rather shy and perhaps not able to express herself as she fully wanted to personally. I probably would have not been terribly impressed by the fact that she interviewed well. But that wasn't what the job was. The job was not about how well I can handle an interview. The job is how well can I perform for clients, customers, and my audience. I want you to think differently. You don't want to interview, you want to audition. Now, you are creative enough to think about how all of that could be different. That means, is there a way that I can demonstrate how good I am? Maybe you are actually going to create a video or something that you can give to people or recommend to people, which is an audition of what you do. Perhaps instead of having a Facebook that's just about stupid pictures of stupid parties or just other friends, why don't you perhaps have something of value where you actually give a talk or you actually give a presentation or you do a teaching seminar or you give a book review? I don't know, but can you demonstrate how good you are? As I often tell people, particularly in sales and marketing, don't describe what you do, demonstrate how good you are. Demonstrate how good you are. Now let me tell you a quick story, and then I'm just going to, as I said, this is going to let it sit on your head for a while. One of the young ladies that was actually a friend of one of my clients knew that I was coaching her father and working there, and she knew that that had been rather helpful to him because he was very complimentary. And I said to her, because she was waiting in the office, I said, how's it going? How are you? And she said, well, I'm looking for a job. And I said, yeah, it's kind of hard to do that. And she said, well, there's a chance that I could get this job. It's a receptionist job. It's a nice firm, and I'm sure I could do it well. But I also know that it's down to 3 people right now. And most of the 2 other people, they're quite experienced. One of them is older, and they've done this for years. And their other person is very experienced in business, and they got laid off. And this isn't the exact job they want, but they're really good at what they do. And I'm sure that since I have very little experience, that I probably won't get it. She said, what do you think I should do? Here's what I told her. Call up the person who possibly you would work for and just simply make an offer. You've got nothing to lose. Call them up and say, I'd like to have that opportunity. By the way, she didn't say job, because I coached her on that. I'd like to have that opportunity. Could I show you what I can do? I'd like to audition for that position. Now, right now, I know you're paying a temp worker to do that until you find a permanent replacement. Hey, I'll be your temp worker for free for the next 2 weeks. Let me be the temp worker. Obviously, if it doesn't work out, get another temp worker. But I just simply like the opportunity. It'll save you some money, and it'll give me a chance to find out how well I can do the job, and you can actually see me in action and find out whether that will work out. And she used that very word, audition. The guy got it. He said, "Oh, sure, come on in. Great." She did a great job. She's still there. Unfortunately, she's not the receptionist anymore. She's moved on to even greater opportunities. She auditioned. Now, obviously, you're going to interview in many ways. But if you can frame it and even use the word audition in that, you might find a new way of thinking and a new way of demonstrating how well you can do. So I say, don't interview, audition. Actually, there's a story about a company that I helped to stop interviewing all their prospective candidates. In fact, they no longer interview. All of the people who are being considered are invited to audition. And that's what they have to do. Well, that's another story. Maybe I'll tell that to you some other time. But the world right now is a performance economy world, and you want to audition. So, number 6, make sure you can be prepared to use both the language and the script and the ability to audition for the position, for the gig, for the role, for the performance you want to give.